Hello and welcome to Workers' Comp Unwrapped, the podcast that simplifies workers' compensation for physicians. So, let's get started. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 18 of Workers' Comp Unwrapped with Anique, your host, and Angela, our guest, who has 15 years of experience in the industry. Today we are talking about appealing IMR delays, strategies for faster resolution, which is learn how techniques to expedite independent medical review, IMR, appeals for faster claim resolutions. If you're joining us today, you probably know that unique flavor of pure administrative frustration that only seems to exist in workers' compensation. We are diving deep into that special type of bureaucratic purgatory known as the IMR delay. IMR, the independent medical review, it's created to be the speedy, unbiased solution when utilization review says no to necessary care. It was supposed to be the express lane. But for so many people listening, especially providers and injured workers, it's just another agonizing bottleneck. It adds months sometimes to recovery timelines.
It's the big paradox of modern workers' comp, isn't it? The law demands speed, but the process itself, it just encourages inertia. So our mission today is to equip you with a strategic playbook to cut right through that. We're not just discussing the rules, we're going to show you how to use those rules as, levers to demand a faster decision. And for anyone who might be new to this whole loop, IMR gets triggered when a treatment request, let's say for physical therapy or surgery, is denied or changed by UR, and the injured worker decides to formally challenge that decision.
And when legislators drafted this, they had specific timelines in mind to prevent these endless delays, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. The intent is laid out very clearly in the California Labor Code. It says IMR must be decisive and it must be fast. So the timeline, in theory, is pretty straightforward. IMR is supposed to issue a final determination within 30 days.
30 days. That sounds completely manageable. What's the catch?
The catch is always in the fine print. That 30-day clock, it only starts ticking the moment the IMR organization has received two things: the complete application and all supporting medical records from the claims administrator.
And if even a single page is missing or one document is off, that 30-day window never even opens. The whole thing just grinds to a halt.
Exactly. That's why we call it the IMR paradox. It's fast in theory, but, just agonizingly slow in practice.
So what are we seeing as the biggest causes?
When we really dig into why these things take 6 weeks or 3 months or even longer, it's rarely because the medicine is complicated. It's almost always administrative. The usual culprits are things like missing chart notes, claims administrators submitting records after their legal deadline.
Which we're going to get to.
Oh, yeah. Or even records being sent to the wrong portal, or just, a huge backlog at the review organization.
You called it a paperwork scavenger hunt before. Let me give a quick example.
Right.
We had a claim for a shoulder manipulation under anesthesia.
Yeah.
Medically, totally straightforward. Administratively, it was held up for 14 weeks. Why? Because the adjuster mistakenly sent the operative report for a previous, totally unrelated injury. The IMR clock never started.
Wow.
And the patient waited, and of course, the condition got worse.
That is precisely the kind of systemic friction we're talking about. And that brings us right to the critical role of the claims administrator. They are the gatekeepers. They hold the keys to that IMR clock, and they have very strict deadlines for submitting records.
Okay, so what are those deadlines?
So once they get that IMR assignment notice, they have a mandatory period to submit all the relevant documents. That deadline is 15 days if they're mailing records, or 12 days if the notice was sent to them electronically.
12 days.
And for the really urgent, expedited reviews, they only have 24 hours.
Okay, I have to stop you there. Why is it 12 for electronic and 15 for mail? You'd think electronic would be faster, so why give them less time?
I know, it seems a little counterintuitive. The idea behind that 3-day difference is to account for physical mail transit time. The thinking is that electronic systems remove that lag, but the key takeaway for us is that the 12-day window is the one that adjusters usually have to hit now. And if they miss it, they're already in violation of the rule.
And this is where the process just totally derails, isn't it? The clock doesn't start because the adjuster sends things late or they're incomplete, like in my story.
That incomplete submission is basically administrative sabotage, even if it's not intentional. The IMR reviewer is not allowed to make a decision until that file is whole, so they stop. They have to issue a notice asking for the missing documents, which might take the adjuster another week to find, then another week to process. You've just lost 3 weeks over one piece of paper.
And there's this really dangerous assumption out there that the provider thinks, okay, IMR is filed, the adjuster has it covered. Why is that so wrong? I mean, aren't they legally required to do it?
They are legally required, but, the system relies on volume and workflow, not perfection. The burden ultimately lands on the injured worker and, by extension, the provider who's fighting for them. Providers need to fundamentally change their mindset here. You cannot assume anything in the IMR process is automated or complete until you confirm it yourself.
That really changes the power dynamic. For years, I've heard providers say, well, once it goes to IMR, it's out of my hands. But it's false.
It is completely false. And that's the pivot point we want to emphasize today. The regulations actually give the provider the explicit right to step into that gap and take control.
So they can intervene directly.
Yes. Under 8 CCR section 10792.10.5, the treating physician is explicitly allowed, and I would argue encouraged, to submit records directly to the IMR organization. You don't have to wait for the adjuster to fail.
That is a game changer. So what are the specific proactive steps we should be taking as soon as we know a case has gone to IMR?
Okay, first you have to verify receipt. Don't wait. Call them and ask what records they actually have. Second, if you find out something is missing, send it yourself immediately. And third, you have to let the claims administrator know that you've done this, either by copying them or just sending a list of what you sent. And finally, you need a really rigorous internal process to track all those IMR deadlines.
So this level of aggressive, proactive involvement, that's the difference between a 30-day resolution and a 3-month wait. You're basically becoming the fact checker.
You're the secondary verification system. That's the crucial difference. IMR moves so much faster when the medical team stays engaged.
Okay, let's unlock the actual playbook. We've established the right to intervene, so now we're going to treat IMR resolution with the same intensity we apply to billing. Let's get into the 5 strategies for accelerated IMR resolution.
Strategy number 1 is the simplest and honestly the most powerful. Proactively, send the records yourself. This one action solves half of all IMR delays because you are eliminating the most common point of failure, which is waiting on the adjuster.
So even though they're legally responsible, nothing stops the provider from double-checking and, well, double submitting. What does that complete package look like?
It needs to be comprehensive. You have to send the original request for authorization, the RFA, the UR denial notice, and all relevant and complete chart notes. And of course, any diagnostic imaging reports, operative reports, and crucially, you have to include your written justification, your MTUS or evidence-based guideline support for the request.
So you're not just sending a stack of papers, you're sending the entire argument before they even have to ask for it.
Exactly. You're preventing those decision-delayed pending records notices that stall everything for weeks.
Okay, strategy 2, track IMR like a billing deadline. This one really speaks to the administrative oversight we see. Deadlines just get blown past because nobody's watching the calendar.
Right, and precision is key here. Providers have to track 4 essential dates. First, the date of the UR denial. Second, the date the IMR application was filed. Third, the claims administrator's hard deadline for record submission, that 12 or 15-day window. And finally, that ultimate 30-day IMR determination window. Put them in your calendar. Set alerts.
So if you hit that, say, 15-day mark, and you haven't heard that the IMR file is complete, who do you contact, and in what order?
You start immediately with the claims adjuster, remind them of their deadline. At the same time, you contact the IMR organization directly to confirm what they have or what's missing. If you get silence or if the delay goes way beyond the 30 days, that's when you escalate the issue to the DWC medical unit for intervention.
Strategy 3 is about using the rules as your weapon. Use the regulatory codes to push adjusters into action.
This is where you bring the regulatory pressure. You have to reiterate that mandatory submission period under 8 CCR section 9792.10.5. You're not just asking nicely, you're enforcing a legal requirement.
But if I'm a busy provider, I don't really have time to draft a legal-sounding letter. How do I make this efficient but still have an impact?
You need a template, a simple follow-up email that's short and authoritative. And you use the magic word.
Magic words.
Yes. Something like, we are confirming timely submission of all supporting records for IMR reference claim number. Failure to timely submit records delays the IMR process and violates 8 CCR section 9792.10.5. That code citation signals you know what you're talking about.
Okay, let's move to strategy 4, which is about substance, not just timing. Submit clean, MTUS-supported justification. We have to remember how IMR reviewers think. They are specialized physicians and they're evaluating guideline compliance, not, subjective fairness.
This is maybe the most strategic point of all. IMR reviewers treat the medical treatment utilization schedule, the MTUS, like it's gospel. The fastest way to get an IMR approved is to make sure your original RFA was rock solid, meaning it speaks the reviewer's language.
So let's contrast that. What does a poor justification that an IMR reviewer just hates to see look like?
They hate vagueness. A poor RFA says something like, the patient is in a lot of pain and needs physical therapy to get better. That's subjective. It gives them no objective reason to approve it.
And what does a fast-track successful RFA look like?
It looks like a checklist for the reviewer. It has direct MTUS citations, like per MTUS Shoulder Guideline 4.3. It provides objective findings, specific range of motion measurements, positive imaging results, and it sets clear, measurable functional goals, not just less pain, but increased shoulder abduction from 40 to 90 degrees. And finally, it shows evidence of prior conservative care that failed.
So they want the numbers in the code citations. If you make it easy for them to just tick the compliance boxes, they move the case right along.
Absolutely. The less thinking the IMR doctor has to do about whether you're compliant, the faster that approval comes back.
And finally, strategy 5. Use expedited IMR when it's truly appropriate. When is this 3-day fast track actually applicable?
Expedited IMR is really reserved for urgent situations where a delay in care could have catastrophic consequences. We're talking about a risk of serious functional decline.
Like losing the use of a limb.
Exactly. Or if there's severe, significant pain that can't be managed otherwise, that's when you have to request expedited IMR.
Can you give us a practical example?
Sure. Think about a patient needing urgent antibiotics for a post-op infection, or maybe a rapidly progressing neurological deficit from a spinal issue that needs immediate imaging. The key is that the provider must write a formal certification, a separate document explaining exactly why the case meets those urgent criteria. You have to spell it out.
So that certification is the absolute gatekeeper. And while the legal deadline is 3 days, what's the real-world timeline we're looking at?
Legally, it's 3 days. In reality, once you've confirmed the adjuster met their 24-hour record deadline, we typically see a decision within 6 to 7 days, which is still dramatically faster.
This has been a really actionable playbook. But let's wrap up by looking at the small, common mistakes that absolutely guarantee a delay.
Yes, the IMR delay offenders. The biggest mistakes we see are things like using the wrong IMR form, submitting incomplete chart notes. A single missing page can stop everything. Or a complete lack of MTUS justification, late submissions, and critically, just failing to follow up with the adjuster, just assuming the system will work on its own.
Because it highlights the stakes perfectly.
It does. I remember a case where the IMR was delayed for 5 months because page 2 of the OT intake eval was missing. It had the patient's functional baseline. The reviewer couldn't establish necessity without it. 5 months of delay, all for one sheet of paper.
So the essential takeaway for you, our listener, is clear. IMR resolution is not an automated process. It is driven by active provider engagement and aggressive tracking.
Exactly. Keep your records clean, keep them compliant, follow up relentlessly, and use those regulatory code citations to your advantage to move things along. You have to be the one to push the timeline.
Since clean, MTUS-supported justification is the foundational key to securing a fast IMR approval, here's a final provocative thought for you. What specific techniques can you adopt today in your practice to standardize your reval? Request for authorization, making them 100% MTUS proof, maybe eliminating the chances of falling into the IMR delay trap in the first place. Think about that. Thanks for listening to Workers' Comp Unwrapped. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe and share with fellow doctors. Stay informed and keep making a difference in your patient's care.